When your father's best friend just happens to be your mentor in a program that he's dedicated his life to, you do a lot of watching and a lot of listening, and in this case, with Gene Morehead, a lot of marveling at the man that he is. And in fact, as you're watching and listening, there are certain moments that you remember, moments that define the relationship between mentor and young man who could only dream about being director of Boys State one day. And that the moments in the relationship, in our relationship with Gene Morehead, did nothing but affirm our admiration for him. It affirmed the admiration for the man who's been a constant in my life for a long, long time. My first vivid memory of Gene Morehead as director of Palmetto Boys State was when I walked into the battalion commander's office at the Citadel in 1983. Gene was director, and he was sitting in the office. And even though I had known him all my life because he was my father's best friend, I was intimidated by him. I was intimidated by the commanding presence that he had. Well, over 3 years as a senior counselor, that intimidation turned to extreme admiration. As director, Gene was confident, he was articulate, and he commanded respect from the staff, from the counselors, and from every boy at Palmetto Boys State. There's another thing I appreciated about Gene as a counselor and on staff at Boys State, is you never had to guess where you stood with him. If you performed for the program that he loved, then you would have a fierce and loyal supporter. But if you didn't perform, then he would thank you for your service to the program, and he would encourage you to have a great life without Palmetto Boys State. Because the program always came first. A few years later, I saw a different side of Gene Morehead. One night he was reading the poem that you just heard him read tonight. And the man who served in the military, went to the Citadel, who was a football player at the Citadel, this rugged guy who commanded so much attention and respect from us, he choked up. And it occurred to me that he choked up because as he was reading The Bridge Builder, he was thinking about my father. I saw a man whose love for this program and for the men who served it was deep and strong. And as I progressed through the ranks of staff, that relationship shifted to friendship. And I saw a man who, as I observed him outside of Boys State, I saw a man who loved his family deeply. He loved his wife, Elaine, his son, Arthur, and his daughter, Anne Marie. And then the grandchildren came. Oh, the grandchildren. Every time I saw him, he would bring out pictures of the grandchildren and tell me stories of the grandchildren. And I saw a man who was totally dedicated to his family. And then one of the things that spoke to me, probably more than anything else I had seen, was how he and Elaine loved my mother and father. They were best friends, and my mom battled cancer for 8 years, and the kindness and the patience and the love that they showed for my family during those times was incredible. And after my mom passed away a couple of years ago, the kindness and the gentleness with which Gene treated my dad as a son, it's a debt that I'll never be able to repay, Gene. And finally, and I'm sorry I'm going so long. Finally, Director Morehead, you along with my father have guided this program for your 55 years with it. You've created a culture that attracts the best leaders of men that I have ever seen. And I and this staff, the beneficiaries of your blood, sweat, and tears for 55 years, we're the beneficiaries of you making this the greatest program, the greatest boys state program in the United States. I love you, Gene Morehead.
Webster defines mentor as a trusted counselor or guide. The Honorable Arthur Eugene Morehead III is just that for me. Judge Morehead. Graduated from the Citadel. So did I. Married Elaine Dempsey from Orangeburg. I'm from Orangeburg. Graduated Carolina Law School. So did I. Practiced law for 12 years before being elected to the bench. So did I. Where's Old Spice? So do I. Spent my first week as a family court judge shadowing him, learning from the best. Little did I know that in June of 1984, I would meet a man with whom I would try to emulate my professional career. Boys State formed this man, just as it's done for me. Matthew says to judge, not that you be not judged, for with the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. In the tense nature of family dissolution, Judge Morehead's decisions have always been thoughtful, deliberate, and measured. Judge Morehead, a judge of impeccable character and moral principles, firm but fair, a man of integrity. Judge Morehead, first recipient of our judiciary's highest honor, the standard in our profession, our leader. Judge Morehead, retiring from the active bench this year. We're going to miss him.
I owe my entire existence in this program to Gene Morehead, and that is unequivocal. You see, I've known Gene Morehead since I was 14 years old. Back then, he was Mr. Morehead, my friend Arthur's dad. A few years after that, he became a family court judge, and he was Judge Morehead, my friend Arthur's dad. But in 1986, I was chosen to be one of the Florence delegates to attend Palmetto Boys State. And I had a good week. Not a great week, but I had a good week. Counselors in my city that year weren't the strongest. They were wonderful people, but not what I would consider strong counselors. And back then, we would have folks from the service academies come participate in the program. And my senior counselor was from the Naval Academy and had not been through the program before. So I didn't get the kind of leadership that I saw around me in other cities. I saw other guys in blue shirts doing their job, and I sat there and I looked at them and I said, I want to do that. I want to come back to this program and be a junior counselor. I think I can do that, and I think I can do that well. But I wasn't sure how to make that happen. But I did have some friends that were already counselors, and I talked to them, and they told me, well, you need to get in tight with your senior counselor. And I said, well, to myself, I don't think that I'm going to be able to make that my route. So after my senior year started, between my September and January of that year, I was able to sort of plant a bug in Judge Morehead, then Director Morehead, in his ear that I wanted to come back. And sometime after that, I was notified that I would indeed be coming back to Boys State. And I knew then and I know now that that happened because he stuck his neck out for me and took a chance and had me come back of his own volition. And that gesture created a debt that I could never repay. Since that time, he's grown from Mr. Morehead to Judge Morehead to Director Morehead, and now he's my friend Gene, a friendship that I treasure with a man that I admire and respect and love, and that, my friend, is also unequivocal.
In 1985, Dee Christopher and I drove up to the Citadel and had no idea what Palmetto Boys State was. We put on the white shirt. They told me to go to Cooper City, and my journey began. My first real etched memory was walking into Mark Clark Hall for the first assembly with about 800 other guys, and I still had no idea what I was getting into and what was about to happen. And I remember when they introduced our director, Gene Morehead, this 38-year-old man walked out, cool as the other side of the pillow, and his hair was perfect, and his smile was right, and he had that accent that I didn't know, but I sure did want to be like him. And my journey of admiration for Gene Morehead began, and I didn't even know your name for about a good 5 minutes because I was in a daze, Gene. But it dawned on me you had the same first name as my dad, and then very similarly to the way this crowd hollers Steve, we all had a chant nickname for you too. And the crowd began with either Gene or Morehead. And my enamorment with this program began to wrap not only my brain but my heart. The first time I ever cried at Palmetto Boys State, and you don't remember this, was after my junior counselor year, because I didn't know if I was coming back, because I didn't really know anybody, and I just remember being overwhelmed like a lot of these guys are here tonight at the whole experience of what you and Sinky have helped create. And I remember giving you a hug and wondering if it made you feel weird, but I was probably snotting all over your shirt as I was trying to wipe my tears and head back up to Easley. And I thought, this may be it. This may be the last time that I ever see Gene. And as God's favor would have it, I did get the letter from Sinclair and came back as a senior counselor and got to serve under you and go in that room at night and be in the senior counselor meeting and sit at your feet in a chair very similar to the one you're sitting in right now. And you became more and more of this icon in my mind. And the way you carried and the way you led and the way you spoke to us, and there were only 15 of us then, and I thought it was the greatest privilege in the world to be wearing that blue shirt, sitting there late at night telling you about my city and you giving me instruction for the next day. And those moments, I'm 50 years old now, Gene, and those moments still shape how I lead. They still shape how I view the position of leadership. As I got to be on staff and began my friendship with you and got to meet the consummate Southern lady Elaine, it opened this whole new world for me. And I realized that there was so much to you that as a citizen, as a counselor, I didn't even get to realize. And I thought that was cool too, the way God would just turn the pages from chapter to chapter. And I got to serve on staff, and I got to hear your jokes, and I got to hear the inside stories. And it made me proud, it made me thankful. And then about 10 years into the program, one of the coolest things was that I got to watch your son come through as Arthur came behind me as a counselor and then moved on staff, and I got to work on staff and do PAC with Arthur. And I just remember those days of having Arthur Eugene Morehead IV and the antics that we tried to pull to get fed up or to get the gnats to go crazy, whatever our assignment was. And I remembered the smile that you would have when we would come off stage or come off the field. And you would laugh at us, but it was an encouraging look in your eyes. And now I'm 34 years into the program, and so the last 20 years I've spent, as these other men have said, getting to have the privilege of being your friend. And here's what I tell you, Gene, 50-year-old Tom still thinks that Gene is as cool as the other side of the pillow, and I love you dearly.
It's been said that when you're part of something wonderful, truly wonderful, you're standing on the shoulders of giants. This program isn't great today because it was great yesterday or last decade. It's because of the legacy of those who have poured their heart and soul into it for multiple decades. This is your legacy, Gene. Our staff, our counselors, and the citizens here are all a product of the efforts of you and Sinky and so many others before us. The staff got together. The staff got together and decided that there's something that's long overdue, and that is a recognition and acknowledgement of the impact that you've made on this program for so many years. And so, starting tonight, we've established a new award, Boy State's most prestigious new award, the Arthur Eugene Morehead Medallion of Excellence, a staff award that will be given to a staff member who has given a lifetime of service to this program. And the award named for you will be given to you as its first recipient. But the first one we give you is not going to look very pretty. It's going to look simple. Frankly, it's kind of cheap. Because this next year we've contracted to have a die cast in which the medallion will be created and you will be part of the design. Therefore, your legacy, not only with the program, will follow through with the design and the medallion itself. We are your legacy. We are your sons up here on this stage, and there's no one better to present this information and congratulate it with you than your own son. Can we cue the video?
Dad, I really wish I could be there tonight. I'm super happy and proud of you and wish I could be there to celebrate this great milestone. All the guys talking about you tonight, they stand on your shoulders and Sinclair's, and y'all have created an unbelievable foundation for what Palmetto Boy State is today and in the future. You taught me that at Palmetto Boy State, you get out of it what you've put into it. Well, for your 55 years of service and pouring your heart and soul into Boy State, you have a lifetime of memories and unparalleled friendships that can't be replaced. And I know you value and cherish that, and this award will commemorate that. So, Dad, I love you. and can't wait to hear about tonight.
At this time, I'd like to invite the initial recipient of the Arthur Eugene Morehead III Medallion to the stage, along with his wife, Arthur Eugene Morehead III.
As you grow older, sometimes you have sense enough to be shorter in what you say. Gene and I have known each other a long time. I was a little uncertain about him the first time I met him. Here was this jock from the Citadel, and here I was, not much jock at all. But my mother said once to me that, son, you don't ever have to apologize for your family. But if you find yourself apologizing for your friends, you need new friends. I don't make any apologies for Gene. He's one of the dearest people in my world, and we've had a great relationship. He's even learned to let me kiss him, which was hard.
Thank you. Thank you.